Welcome back. I'm Ezra Levant. We've heard it all before. CEOs raking in the dough, leaving the poor employees in the dust. Well, the left-wing think tank called the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives publishes their annual Envy report on top CEO salaries. Their report found, surprise, that the 100 highest paid CEOs make a combined $795 million in total compensation. Well, so what? That's exactly the question the Montreal Economic Institute asked. So now what? Well, they crunched some numbers on how to redistribute the pay and found, well, it actually wouldn't make much of a difference other than stopping the most productive, hardworking, or smart people in our economy from bothering to work hard anymore. Economist and research director Yuri Chassin joins me with more from Montreal. Yuri, welcome to the show. I mean, we all have a little bit of envy in us. We all see the person who makes more money or has the fancier car, and there's an impulse in us that says, I want that too. But there's two things to say about that. First of all, if we were to steal everything that the rich had, there actually wouldn't be a lot to go around, would there?
Exactly. So basically, the figures and the data that the CCPA use are valid. It's not a question of contesting their fine points, but just the message that they're sending. Because basically what we're saying is that even though we may look at this as big figures, as outrageous compensation, obviously in the total economic scheme of Canada, it's not really something that is so big that it can change or alleviate poverty or change dramatically the pay of their own employees. What we've figured is actually that if we do take all the money paid to the CEO and paid it instead to their employees, it would make that a small difference of 90 cents per day, which amounts almost to nothing.
Yeah, so what you did is you said, all right, take the CEO of one of Canada's biggest companies, let's just say Rogers Cable or Bell or something. If you took all their money away from them, and if we would continue with the fiction that that person wouldn't quit and leave for the jurisdiction, put that chart back up there just for 1 second. If you took all their money away from the boss of Bell or Global or Rogers and gave it to their employees, it's basically 90 cents a day, but you've just taken out one of the most productive people in the economy. But here's another stat you did, Yuri, and I like this one even better. If you had a 100% taxation rate, and if you gave it all to the poor, that would be 40 cents a day for low-income Canadians. So you'd scratch that envy itch. Oh boy, you'd smash Steve Jobs, the late Steve Jobs, in the face, and you'd stick it to every entrepreneur out there. You'd feel better about yourself, but it really wouldn't help anyone, would it?
Exactly. And this is interesting because it's not even, a recommendation of the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives. They don't even say, we would have to tax or something, but their message is, they imply something when they look on or dwell on CEO compensation that much. And basically, if we try to figure out their message, it's clearly not to alleviate poverty. It's clearly not to pay better wages. So what is it? In fine, what's the policy implications of their report, which is, an annual exercise of saying, well, this is how much they're being paid, how much it's probably too much, it's too big, they use qualification as stratospheric compensation. Mm-hmm. So basically what they're meaning, what they're sending as message is that Canadians should be outraged. It's too much. It's a big gap between the less fortunate and the CEOs. But this is probably just a diversion from a more fundamental debate, which is about poverty. And when you look at CEO, with envy, basically you're not trying to find any solutions to alleviate poverty or to help the less fortunate.
Yeah, that's a great point. And so this isn't actually about doing good. This is about scratching that envy itch and saying, if I can't have $1 million a year, no one will. It's not even, can I have that $1 million a year too? The answer to which is, sure. Just work hard or come up with a great idea or work smarter or work your way. I mean, anyone in Canada could make $1 million a year if our system does not lock out newcomers. It's a very open economy for a high-tech entrepreneur, for example. But that's not what these folks are saying. These folks aren't saying, let's grow more entrepreneurs, let's have more success stories. They're not even saying, as you point out, let's help the poor. They're saying, let us all hate people richer than us. It's tall poppy syndrome, and unfortunately, it's a part of the Canadian psyche, isn't it, that we despise people who are more successful than us?
Well, I hope it's not part of the majority. It's not something that the majority, we're not that much resentful, I think, as a people against people who are making a lot of money. But obviously, and let me add this nuance. It's not that every CEO is paid exactly as it should. It's not that their compensation is just and fair and everything is going well in the boards to determine the compensation. It's just that if there's any error, if some CEOs are paid too much, for example, because their results are not as good on the market, for example, it's not really a problem that should be tackled by the government.
Yeah, that's
it's private enterprises.
That's
right?
a great point. The shareholders, the directors can take that money back. It's not public money. That is a great point. That's a point you and I have not mentioned until you just brought it up now. This is for shareholders. If shareholders think they're paying too much, they'll reduce it. They don't need some envy think tank. And you know what? Let me close on this, Yuri, because we're out of time. I noticed that they went after capitalists. They didn't go after rock stars, sports stars, hockey stars, because they know people love them too much. This is an exercise in envy. I'm calling it the annual Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives Envy Report, and I encourage you to do the same thing, Yuri. Thanks for clarifying and rebutting them. Great to have you on the show. Talk to you again soon.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye.